Now I take this opportunity to introduce our eminent speaker for today, Mr. Sam Rufus. Mr. Sam Rufus is an international trainer. He is passionately engaged in enriching people from diverse fields and industries in creative and innovative thinking. He has over 3 decades of rich experience gained through his passionate tenure with renowned advertising agencies in India such as Clarion, Contract, Everest, and JWT in US and Australia. He is the founder-director of an organization called EPIC, where EPIC stands for Enriching People in Creativity. At EPIC, Sir has conducted various trainings in New HRD, which stands for Hidden Resource Development. This has impacted various industries and institutions as wide-ranging as petroleum, safety, IT, power, and management education. He is visiting faculty at Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta, Indian Institute of Mass Communication, Delhi, amongst other leading management institutes, and of course, Apeejay Institute of Mass Communication, to name a few. May I now request Sir to deliver his session on learning and creativity.
I know I get very long and rather very descriptive kind of qualifications. But honestly, I've failed so much that I've looked at failure as a winning process. And therefore, in all this, I became a learning person. So I'd like you to see me or consider me essentially as a learning person. My wife looked at my visiting card and she said, nobody's going to give you a job. Okay. Well, let me tell you, I get my finest assignments because of those 2 words. So if there's anything that I'm going to dwell on this morning is essentially what is this whole romance of learning. And it's rather interesting to see that a lot of terms that Professor Ogra used and the speaker after that were words and language that I've been pondering over while trying to share in the things that I wish to. So very, very quickly is let's wish you a good morning. That was a faint one. Okay, so you can see that I'm a fun person. I took the word fundamental seriously for the simple reason that it began with fun. Okay, and well, it's got mental in it also. So let it not be just fun continuously, but it's a marvelous word. And when I ask people anywhere within our country or even outside, what is the meaning of fundamental? What would you say? Anyone? What would you say? Go ahead. I mean, I like it to be interactive and share some of the stuff. What would you say? Basic, isn't it? Anywhere, everywhere, they will tell me basic. But if you really look at the thesaurus, you'll find that the first word that comes up for fundamental is essential. Okay. So for too long, we've just kept fundamental as basic. But you can see the whole concept in terms of essential. Now, if I were to ask you, is a passport, is it basic or essential? So you get the difference, isn't it? So therefore, we are going to deal with some essentials. And honestly, I'm not going to delve deep, but leave as an appetizer. Just leave as an appetizer for you. You heard some of the great things that is on the plate, and I wish I could be here for each of those sessions, but duty calls always, so would wish you a very, very happy time. Okay, that's my curtain raiser. I don't know why Mr. Ashok Ogra always calls me, but I'm happy to be here. And the day he sacks me, I won't be here. Okay. So it's a joy to be here, and I feel very privileged for the simple reason is is not to come and lecture, honestly. I mean, who am I? How many of us here, roughly about 50, 60? About 100 here, plus the parents, and you know, it's absolutely marvelous to see some parents also accompanying their sons and daughters. I wish my own mother was here. She was a very gifted gynecologist who didn't make money. For the simple reason, she said that her wealth was in terms of treating people who couldn't afford to pay her. So she served people who couldn't pay her. So somebody asked her, what does Sam do? And as honest as she was, she said, honestly, I don't know what he does. So at least you got your parents to guide you here. She said, I heard that he makes some films on television like Hajmola Candy and stuff like that. Okay. But I hope he's making enough money to look after his family. Okay. So that was my mother's testimony. Friends, I moved from finance into the wonderful area of creative thinking. And the industry and people said that a finance guy cannot be creative. Well, if you look at today, the most creativity is in the area of finance. Of course, on the underside. You know what I mean? By the way, I won't cost you if you laugh, right? So highly creative area, but it wasn't then. It was a more honest and era of integrity in those days. Okay. So I broke through. And this is something that I'm going to leave with you and share with you, is the breakthroughs have to come through you. And how do you use environments? How do you use, of course, today you're far better off than what we were in our time. So we're going to dwell on some of those things. I run EPIC. EPIC is an acronym for Enriching People in Creativity. And I think it's a fascinating area. So irrespective of the subject that you're going to study, please consider your core essential platform to be creative and creative thinking. So I moved from building brands to building people. It's a great journey. If you have your little notebooks and pens with you, I'd like to give you an extension for people. P, people, encouraging other people to live excellence. Are you there with me? People, encouraging other people to live excellence. And you would have heard Professor Ogra sharing with you and telling you that you're not here just to go solo. And the key words that you began to hear is collaborate and team up and think through. These are wonderful aspects for us to be taking advantage of in a leading institute like this. And all the infrastructure, all the environment, the entire climate has been created, and it's really for you to take it. So I'm going to leave some key words with you, and you drive it. You move it forward as you go along, in your journey from today. So people encouraging other people to live excellence. So it's not a solo sport. It is, we begin to grow and we begin to excel as we have others do the same. As I mentioned to you, my card says learning person. It doesn't say CEO, it doesn't say MD or chief operating officer, whatever, right? Simple as this, a learning person. And our youngest son, his name is Tim. The first day he came back from school, he said, Dad, who invented school? Okay. I mean, he was done with school, right? So one of the things, even as he began to grow, I began to share with him and say that, learning is great. And he'd say, the reason why you're saying so is because you don't have to go to school. You understand? So it's a great choice that needs to be made, and we will explore that. I'd like to begin with a simple but a story that I love. I love stories. And this is the story of two persons in an asylum. I hate to use the word lunatic asylum. Many geniuses are there actually. Okay. So here were the two cellmates. So one of the guys, he took a nail and he put the head first onto the wall. Mind you, he put the head first, not the sharp end, and began to bang the nail. So obviously it didn't penetrate, it didn't get through. The nail got bent. So he comes and tells his cellmate, he said, whoever made this nail must be mad. The guy said, why? He said he put the head on the wrong side. So the guy looked at it, he said, sure, give me that nail. He looked at it, he said, no, he was brilliant. He said, why? He said, this nail was for the other wall. Now, you think it's a bad story. In fact, it is a bad story. So very often we get used to a certain level or pattern of thinking, and creative thinking demands that you break rules. If there's any progress that has been made, it is because of creative thinking. And this whole concept out of the box or etc. I mean, let's not get into jargon. In fact, there's so many things within the box that we have not explored. We haven't even looked at. And if there's anything that I can say rather boldly, is schools, colleges, and even institutes, not a Apeejay, because you will be dealing a lot with creative thinking here, is we are taught subjects, but we are never taught to think. Are you there with me on that? Yeah. So if there's anything that happened with me, is I enjoyed thinking and forget subjects. Now, I went to a good college called St. Xavier's in Calcutta, and when I was doing law there, is I would take the opposite case, because I didn't know the real case, and I'd quote the opposite case and say, this is the opposite of that. Okay. Well, that's what lawyers do now. Okay. So friends, it's so critical and important for us to enjoy this aspect of, is there another answer? Is there another way of looking at it? And therefore, my attempt will be to try and take you through this little journey. So there you go. He said he is very intelligent. This nail is for the other wall. I'd like you to write this statement, and it's for life. And that is this: good is the enemy of great. And I heard Professor Ashok say that you could be a topper in your subject. Well, congratulations. But don't sit on your laurels, because if you sit on your laurels, you'll flatten it. So forget all that you've learned. Okay. And the joy is now in unlearning, which is a very difficult process. But once you get the romance of that, once you get the taste of going beyond your subjects and be able to connect and be able to explore and relish, you'll be amazed as to what will happen. Today I'd love to go back to a history class. I hated it because in school, and I didn't do it in college, but in school it was just dates. The wrong kind, of course. So then what happens is, who's going to remember dates? And how does it matter if he died or he lived or this is what he did? You get it, right? But then if you can take the subject and its characters and create anew, is an amazing curriculum. outside of London, there's a phenomenal school which has taken all the characters of Shakespeare and the books of Shakespeare and turned each one of these characters into behavioral science. Are you there with me? So a character like Shylock, or a character like Julius Caesar, or a character like Juliet and Romeo, or whatever be the case, what is their counterparts in today's world? And how that could be extrapolated, how it could be extended, and these are the amazing aspects, is some of the things that I'd like to leave with you in terms of go beyond your subject. Go beyond the stuff that you read. And then you'll move from good to what? Great. So this is not just for your college. It's not just for your orientation. You're very good. And some of the organizations that I work with, when I put this across and say, listen, are you doing a great job? There's silence. Are you there with me, right? Yeah. They're doing a good job. No worries. But are you doing a great job has not even entered within their whole ecosystem. So therefore, this drive is a drive for you and for me as we move through life in terms of the journey from going from good to great. So friends, it's not how good you are, but how good you wish to be, and that benchmarking has to be done today because it's essential. And you will put the cornerstone on a day like this. And you heard of dreams, you heard of visions, etc. And these are very, very vital. So this is a matter of choice. Cannot be left to your parents, cannot be left to your professors here, cannot be left even to the institute. They will give, they will provide, but the architect is you, and the material is you, the sculptor is you, and the marble is you. So there you can see in terms of how this entire process of sculpting is critical and important. So friends, go beyond numbers. What happens is, invariably, the dream becomes in terms of scoring marks, which is valid and which is invalid. Some of the finest inventors and some of the greatest people were great failures. Edison's supposed to have done something like 864 or 65 experiments before he got the electric bulb. So somebody asked him, Mr. Edison, weren't you fed up? He said, why should I? He said, because of so many failures. He said, I know now 863 things don't work. So friends, you know, these are great stories and you got to follow them, etc. And this has been the downfall of man. And this has been one of the greatest paradigm shifts in computerization. Okay, so it depends on how we look at it. All over we'll say A is for what? Surely not guava, right? Okay, so why not A is for airplane? Are you there with me? I mean, through eons, through years, we carry on with this particular thing and we sort of get stuck, right? Time to break through. A is for apple is good, but it's not great. So how do we move from A is to aeroplane? And I like this little, not very large enough, a zebra fed up of its stripes trying to recolor itself. Okay, it's trying to add a little Nerolac on itself and do some marvelous stuff. So let me tell you a story which really happened to me and has great relevance. I travel quite often to the Northeast, and one day at the Guwahati airport, I was rather early. So there was just the pilot and me on the helicopter, and he was filling up some logs, and he said, Sir, that seems to be a very interesting instrument that you have on your dashboard. So what is it called? Well, this is what he said. He said, without even looking up, he said, attitude meter. So I said, you mean altitude meter? He said, attitude meter. I kept pushing. You mean altitude meter? He got angry. You understand English? I took out my card. So I'm a learning person. Visiting card can come and help. Okay. Just another side. I was visiting the John Anderson School of Management in Berkeley, and there was this director looking at me rather stunned. So I said, John, are you okay? I'm asking him the question. He said, yeah. I said, why are you looking at me like that? He said, Sam, you speak good English. So I said, I had a stopover in London. So you'll be amazed as to the kind of people that you'll encounter, etc. Okay, so this is the way he explained it to me, and he said, it's not called an altitude meter, but it's called an attitude meter. Because when I place the joystick above the horizon, it'll go up. And if I place the joystick below the horizon, it'll go down. Amazing, isn't it? All got to do with what? In real life? Your attitude. Okay, so let's rush through this and let's look at, for instance, and I thought of mentioning this because you will come with a lot of attitudes, and I find a bad attitude is like a flat tire. You can't go very far until you change it, isn't it? So some of the setting that you need to do, because you were used to a certain environment, you were used to certain aspects, and now you come to a melting pot, and therefore one of the essentials in terms of fixing your attitude. So friends, do introspection of yourself, look inside, and do an X-ray. Very, very important. And the more unabashedly, the more unashamedly you're going to do this, the better for you. And the better you'll grow from good to what? Great. Because of this whole resetting, and because you're resetting your attitude, and etc. So friends, if you like, kindly, I live by this. Weeds grow, but rice is cultivated. Does weeds need fertilizer? Does weed need care? So the things that we don't want in our life, what? Very quickly grows. But if you want roses and if you want rice, what do you need to do? Cultivate it. I like the term cultivate, old word. It's not digital. It's got nothing to do with what? Technology, etc. But what you sow, you shall what? Reap. Okay, that's a divine principle, and therefore, friends, is you are really more into sowing rather than into studying. As I told you, I'll be talking about the nail for the other side. Okay, is not the traditional aspect as you go along. Friends, excellence is not a skill, it is an attitude. Why should hotels only be such fancy places? Why should the toilets in hotels only be neat and clean? Are you there with me, right? I visited the washroom of McDonald's outside of Mathura. You know, the Mathura refinery. We made a stopover, and I was amazed to see the quality, the cleanliness, and the hygiene of the McDonald's washroom here in Mathura, which was even far better than Los Angeles. Skill, attitude, right? See, once you get your attitude right, and that becomes a culture, that becomes a behavior. I used to get pretty upset with cabbies and auto drivers, etc., and react the way that they used to react. And then I began to tell myself, and I said, what's the difference between me and him if I just do the same thing? But I had to cultivate it. I had to work on it. And therefore, thankfully, I'm getting there. So you can see the whole process, and this is a phenomenal process because you're there in this great bridge between now getting yourself equipped and then moving on to greater things where you will lead organizations, you will lead companies, and therefore it's not just the subjects that are going to take you there, etc. So I leave with you some flying lessons. Number one is a change in attitude will set your what? Your altitude. Okay? A very important, essential, and then you began to build it, and therefore you will look at it and see how can I move in this area. Number two is very critical and important is to who are you hanging around with. You know, people are always told a man and a woman is known by the company that they keep. Yes or no, right? So some of this old world stuff is like, you know, my kids say, Dad, move on, you know. So probably you must be saying the same thing, right? By the way, only my body is getting old, but not my mind. Okay. There are certain old values which, let's not put an old or a new to it, they're absolutely essential. They're cornerstones. You cannot possibly build digitally without getting the foundations right. So therefore, these essentials are critical and important in terms of, I like this statement by Jane Austen. Most of us don't read it. Most of us have not even gone into, the whole curriculum has taken us away from wonderful literature. So friends, let me tell you, please get back. Please go back into these areas. And it's very, very critical and important. This is what it said. My idea of a good company is the company of clever, well-informed people and what? Who have a great deal of conversation. So the question is this, does our talk have quality? I mean, somebody asked me years ago, Sam, why are you in advertising? I said, because it's the only good news in today's newspaper. It's the only good news in today's television, right? Some of the things that we see, aren't they shameful? Do we do something about it? Can we? Should we? Quality talk, conversation. You'll be surprised. Friends, I do this. I hang around many of the new schools of learning. Now we can use digital media purely as a consumer, but I'd like you to transfer and look at you being now producers and looking at data, looking at stories, looking at all this particular stuff in relation to what you in turn can take as raw material and produce. That's the paradigm shift I'd encourage you to do. Not just be consumers of data, but take it, mold it, melt it, and see exactly what else can you do as you go along. So improve what? Your thought life. You are or will be what you think. So a very, very important aspect. Friends, my third lesson, flying lesson 3 is stay and live with thought leaders. And there's several of them. And that goes even much beyond the great faculty that we will have. Okay, make this as a practice. Make this as a hobby. Make this as a journey in terms of what others are saying. So here, for instance, you have the blogs and you have the opinions analysis. Friends, choose it rightly. Every other morning I'm at Harvard. Every other morning I'm at MIT. I can get there, right? and you'll find HBR gives you a great place called the Harvard Business Knowledge. And I read stuff which I never read anywhere else. And it's going to take me ages in terms of getting it from somebody else. So therefore do that. And I would heartily recommend that you be a great fan of TED Talks. How many of you listen to TED Talks? Okay, very few hands here, right? Now every hand should go up. Every hand should go up. A great area for education and for you to understand ideas and stuff like that. So spending time with thought leaders opens up thought development. This is not to impress you, but I felt it was critical and important when I saw an opinion on the Times website and everybody was boasting about various things, is I went and put this particular message. I said, whoever wins the president's election, just ensure that India does not lose. Are you there with me? Okay. So somebody's talking Dalit and somebody's talking Palit and whatever, right? I mean, are we supposed to be that? Okay. India, somebody's looking at the state flag. Okay. So friends, we have a great opportunity to bring about change and to bring about change in the right manner, etc. So let me quickly go through some of these wonderful thought leaders, and I've just chosen this Einstein. He said, education is not the learning of facts, but the training of the mind to think. So every day think. IBM has this wonderful what? One word mission statement, think. Okay? And they're living by it. So what do you think? Is the question that you should be asking yourself every other morning. What do you think? He also says, I have no special talent, I'm only passionately what? Curious. So another wonderful trait, another wonderful qualification for us to gather and to get this in terms of our journey. So the 21st century skills is studying to learning to think. So not studying to learn to know, which is half the story, but studying to learn to be able to think. And it's absolutely marvelous and wonderful. So there are 4 C's. One is the critical thinking and problem solving. We heard about communication. Number 3 is collaboration. And my favorite, creativity and innovation. Not renovation, innovation. Okay, don't worry about failing. And therefore, a very important aspect. Very quickly, let me share with you a little clip on Tony Buzan, a great guy. You can check him out on what he says about mind mapping. Imagination is key. And as children, we were great at it. We were coloring cows in purple. In fact, there's a great book called Purple Cow. And we need to get into reading such stuff and moving into that. So imagine is critical. You've heard about vision. 1 or 2 words let me leave with you is the great ones, the great leaders don't set out to be a leader, okay? In fact, you'll fail if you set out to be that. They set out to make a difference. I think this, and for me, the word MAD, the acronym is making a difference, okay? So you need to be mad about it and therefore progress toward that. So it's never about the role, but it's about the goal. Edison didn't want an electric bulb. He wanted to light up planet Earth in the night. So can you imagine this man's wonderful goal, etc. So let me rush through another wonderful thought leader, Steve Jobs. Follow his life, some of his stuff that he's done and the way that he progressed in life. He says we are gambling on our vision and we'd rather do that than make Me Too products. Now, if I were to extrapolate, don't be just another student, don't be just another MBA, right? Don't be just another, what? Me Too. Let some other companies do that. For us, it's always the next dream. How do you build yourself? How do you continue to add to your character? Okay. I'm convinced that about half of what separates the successful entrepreneurs from the non-successful ones is pure perseverance. Okay? So, I mean, it's not a cakewalk, right? You really need to work hard at it, and it's exciting. It's result-oriented. Being the richest man in the cemetery doesn't matter to me. Going to bed saying we've done something wonderful, that's what matters to me. Okay? So, friends, there's no copyright on this. But if you copy, make sure that you copy right, not wrong. Okay? In the sense that adopt these aspects, etc. So, how to learn strategically? Couple of, they're not tips, but they're little guidelines. I mean, you're most welcome to use them. Remember, there is the word earn in what? In learn. And don't look at earn only in terms of finance, okay? Earn respect, earn character, earn value. So move on to that particular. The 7 habits of learning for excellence. Always walk through life as if you have something new to learn, and you will, okay? So we normally look through our eyes, but I say that we need to see with our ears and hear with our eyes. So change your faculties and move it. Number 1, create an achiever plan. Okay? You'll find it very useful. You may fail at times, but once you've got this down, you will continue to look, what am I going to achieve today? What am I going to achieve in the next week? Doesn't matter if you don't achieve, but you will achieve. In the sense, you will not be at 0, so create an achiever plan. Number 2 is take stretch breaks. One of the biggest mistakes that we make is that we get into learning and then we keep sitting at it and not learn at all. You know what I mean? So take stretch breaks, it's a very important part, and it has been highly researched. Is the brains of 20 students were given the same test. One was after sitting quietly, and this was after a 20-minute walk. After the 20-minute walk, the embedding, the processing was far more powerful and far better. Build noteworthy notes. Okay? I have particularly highlighted them. Okay, the more you, not just take down notes, but the way you make your own notes, but at the end of the program, you should be able to write a book through all your notes. Okay? So that's a dream, and therefore look at that. Friends, I don't know how many of you visit libraries. Okay? The library seems to be an outdated aspect, but please, love a library, because look what Mark Twain says, in a good library, you feel in some mysterious way that you're absorbing the wisdom contained in all the books through your skin without even opening them. So make it your point to visit the library every single what? Day, even if it's for just half an hour. Important. Read to what? Lead. Get enough sleep. Don't sleep in class. Well, one of my opening statements is, especially for an afternoon class, is, friends, you want to sleep, please sleep. But don't snore. Because if you snore, you'll wake me up. So, let's get that straight. Nobody sleeps after that. Okay. Very, very critical, important. For absorption, you need to have the discipline of getting enough sleep. Question your learning. Okay? Question your learning continuously. And friends, it's this. It's not about what teachers cover, but it's about what students discover. That's why you have Professor Ogra has something called Discovery Channel. Okay? What is that you discovered? Test yourself frequently. I mean, don't wait for the exams to happen. Very important. But test yourself frequently and practice under interview conditions. I mean, as if you were really applying for what? The Microsoft chief job. Yeah? And the sense that do that. Okay. Okay, I'm going to close with 6 questions to ask yourself every day. Okay, simple, easy to do, and I hope you'll remember that. Number 1, and this is the opening statement. Did I do my best? Did I do my best to do what? Just to be happy. Friends, depression, sadness, and happiness are viral. they're infectious. So, yeah, we could have had a bad day, but choose to be happy. Okay, take that around. I mean, how much garbage do you want to carry around, right? So choose to be happy. Number 2, please find meaning. So you're not here for subjects, but you're here to find meaning. Meaning in those subjects, meaning in terms of what the future has. Number 3, be fully engaged. You can be switched off. I've been in classes where people have been texting each other, right? But they're doing a disservice to themselves, not to me. 4, build positive relationships. Every single day, get into this and set clear goals and make progress towards your goal achievement. 6 very simple steps, but therefore wonderful steps. If you're not willing to learn, no one can help you. Okay, that's Sam giving you straight from the gut. Okay, nobody will help you. But if you're determined to learn, no one can stop you. Okay, so let that be the overriding principle. And the capacity to learn is a gift. The ability to learn is a skill. And the willingness to learn is a choice. So when you face the mirror every morning, step out to make a difference. I'm not gender biased. I wanted to put a pretty face on this slide, right? So therefore, you can see that. So friends, your journey begins now. And therefore what? Grow from good to great. Those roses are the same that I received just now. Thank you very much.
Anybody wants to ask any questions to sir? We can take a few questions.
I love questions as long as I don't have to answer. Okay. No. Let's. It may not be a question. It may be adding value. You know, something from your own experience you want to share with us, which we'll never be able to get it. Or if you need a clarification, or if you thought something was difficult, it's lovely to be able to clarify and move on. Yeah, go ahead. I'm a nice guy, you know, and yeah. And I love funny questions. I mean, what's an example of a funny question? Is, you know, what is abbreviation? Abbreviation? What is it? Short form. So why is it such a long word? Why is Russia so slow? Okay, good. You know, the more you question, the more you're thinking, and I think that's the. So let's give us a taste of this new group of asking a funny or a nice question. Yes, sir. Your name?
Karthikeyan.
Karthikeyan, right?
Karthikeyan.
Okay, Karthikeyan. Oh, yeah.
So what are the qualities of a good learner?
What are the qualities of a good learner? The qualities of a good learner is he has a passion for knowing. He has a passion for learning, not necessarily for scoring. Okay. And the whole aspect is, the more we know at any given point of time, the more we don't know. And the qualities of a good learner is not trying to impress anybody. Neither is he or she trying to, score marks. I mean, that's the least of the thing. Is to be able to make a difference. I'll give you a great example. In my early career, my boss asked me, Sam, where's the driver? And I said, I don't know. So he pulled me to the room, right? And I was on this princely salary of 150 rupees. I was going to get sacked. He said, are you serious about this whole profession of creative and advertising? I said, yes, sir. He said, I don't think so. This is real life. I said, but I don't know. He said, I want you to change those 3 words, I don't know, to I will find out. Are you there with me? So the quality of a good learner is, he may not know or she may not know, but they will not remain in that area of what? ignorance. I will find out, you may still not find out, but you wouldn't be at ground zero. So the whole aspect of learning is, I'll go find out. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Wonderful, okay. Anybody else? I don't want to run it. Yes, yes, ma'am.
Like you said, try yourself to be happy. But there are some moments when some other things just cross your mind and you depress yourself. So how to do?
Wonderful.
How to make yourself
Yeah.
happy?
What's your name?
Muskan.
Muskan. Means smile, right? You live your name. No, that's said in a very light-hearted manner. Friends, it's always a choice. It's always a choice. Of course, we are human and things are going to upset us. I mean, we're natural, okay? But don't live with it. Don't nurse it. You know, don't nurture it. Don't keep hugging it. The sun gets a sinking feeling every day, but it's up the next morning. Yes or no? Okay, so friends, choose, okay? Yes, I mean, we are emotional beings. There will be areas of sadness, there will be areas of depression, but don't live with that. Now, let me ask you, for instance, garbage in the house, how long is it kept? Just for one night, right? Next morning you check it. So, depression or these thoughts can be garbage. Throw out, check it. Okay? Move into something, move on, move into something new, move into something different. Answer your question. Good. Anybody else?
So,
Yeah.
so what is the one thing you like the most about of being in this field, sir, advertising?
What is the one thing? I like many things actually.
So like the moment you feel like, why this is who I am.
Okay, okay. What is the one thing that I like about the field of creativity and advertising is it's not predictable. Okay, it's not the same thing. Okay, it's not routine. So I didn't know, when I was moving from finance into this area, I didn't know what I was getting into. And let me tell you, in the copy test that I got, the chief asked me, he said, in those days, what was the implications of Britain's entry into the European Common Market? Because he thought I'm a commerce student and I was saying. So I went to him and I said, sir, do you want to know what I know or what I don't know? He said, I like you, and he gave me the job. So you understand, isn't it? So the one thing I like is surprise and the continuous search of growing from good to great, and it become good also. So it's again a matter of attitude, you know, is the learning attitude to know more. And we have only one life, so give it all you've got. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
So, you just said that you were involved with, like, you made Hajmola's ad and everything. So, what are the other ads you were associated with? Number one. And number two is, why did you choose advertising? And why not any other field?
Okay. One of my finest moments has been the repositioning of Milkmaid. Nestlé's was going to take this brand out. It's a great brand. I hope I can share that case study sometime with you as students. Everything was wrong about the communication. Nothing wrong with the product. Sir said everything wrong with the perception of the consumer. Okay, how are you able to perceive that? So that's been my, one of my. I say this as a joke. The other woman in my life is the milkmaid. Okay, how you can, it's become a international brand, a very, very successful brand. So I have many other cases, but I just leave this with you. I made a 4-hour presentation to the chief of Nestlé's when we were rebranding Nescafe Select. So he asked me, I said, Select is such a boring name. I said, to you. I'm telling this to the marketing chief. I said, it's boring to you, but not to the consumer. I want a subliminal what? Kind of a whisper, choose me from the shelf. Select me, right? Hajmola candy, jo bhi khaye, those ban jaye, right? That stuff is still running. Okay, how do you touch the heart? Okay, so it's not just not just a question of the the mind itself. How do you touch the heart? Because at the end of the day, it's the heart, right? And you know, we say that we want to learn things by heart, right? But not with the mind. Okay, so that's one. Why did I choose advertising? I chose advertising because it's the best fun you can have there, you know, and it gives you variety. Okay. One of the things is during my time, people were not highly qualified in terms of letters. Didn't matter, but they were great learners. So that's a great part. So I mean, it's not a matter of degrees, right? It's a matter of your mind. It's what you can bring on the table, how many varieties you can bring. Let me leave a thought with you. The greatest enemy to creative thinking is the first right answer. We become victims of maths. We become victims of arithmetic. I was with a client just a few weeks ago. I wrote a campaign for them many years, which he remembered every word. The campaign was, arithmetic doesn't make music. You get it, right? So be fond of not just what's trending, but what adds to life. You know, the values of life. And it makes you a better person, hopefully, you know, because you're thinking like that and you're bringing that as a happiness quotient, right, to other people.
So can you guests also ask this one question?
Oh yeah, but I charge guests normally.
I like that. It's a very short question.
Anji.
How much of humor is in grey and in good?
Okay. When you're dealing with humor, it's pretty serious. Okay. No. Humor must add value. Humor must not just be for humor's sake, you know. So therefore, that is where the art lies. I mean, you look at if you watch comedians, the established ones, is where they are able to bring some part to life, where you learn better because you laugh. And you can say some very serious things and important things through laughter, you know. So, even in commercials and in films, etc., is how well do you architect the humor? How well do you dovetail it? And it must, you know, it must be the kind of humor that you want to see every time, and you don't get bored with that. You can watch that commercial for, and you know, you sort of watch it every time. Yeah. Does that answer? Yeah. I just love humor. I love laughter. Laughter doesn't need interpretation anywhere in the world. You know, okay? You go anywhere, you laugh, and it's great. I make a lot of friends just through laughter. Okay? Friends, I think my time is up. They're being nice to me. They haven't told me to, I'm not a Bengali, but since living in Calcutta, I know pretty much of that. The people earlier, you know, they would say Ashun, Boshun, Ki Khaben Bolun, right? In the sense that please come eat. By the way, Calcutta is the most sweetest city. Doesn't bother about diabetes there, right? So everybody's got sweets there. So now it's the Microsoft generation. They'll say Ashun, Boshun, and go soon.
On behalf of Apeejay Institute of Mass Communication, I sincerely thank Sam sir for sparing time with us from his busy schedule. And I'm sure the students have got a lot of takeaways from his session. And for those who could not ask him question today, don't worry, he'll be taking many more sessions in the class. Can we have a huge round of applause for him? I would also like to inform students that this special session was planned to inspire you and to open up to this learning process. And we'll have more specific sessions pertaining to your courses like your television, journalism, advertising, corporate communication and events during the coming 2 weeks. and a few more sessions to motivate and inspire you. For example, we have George Ibrahim sir, who would be coming and talking and motivating you about the learning process.